might feel not free because your inner child does not feel free. This is why if somebody decides to go on and follow their purpose and passion, after a while this work will crop up in their life, as it has for me as well. Because if you want to go and follow your purpose and your passion, it asks you to be free. It asks you to embody all of you. And if you haven't embodied this inner child version of you, this inner child which is inside you, then obviously you're again projecting those wounds on the outside, and you're not able to live from this place of freedom, or create or share from this place of confidence or embodiment, because you yourself, that aspect which is within you, a part of you, is still not integrated. And every time you want to express something, every time you want to create something freely, every time you want to get emotional and vulnerable in your connections, your inner child needs will come in between. Hi, welcome. I'm Shivani, and today we're talking about inner child healing. Inner child healing is something that I think, consciously our minds would really dodge our ways to face it, to heal it, because it feels like a very intimate, very vulnerable part of ourselves that we consciously wouldn't want to face. And so if you're here, congratulations, you've already made a big mindset shift, that you're at least open to do this work, open to the concept of inner child, or to the concept of inner child healing, which is in itself so huge. Because 5 years ago, I knew nothing about inner child healing or inner child, or there is an aspect within me who is my own inner child. So what is an inner child? Who is an inner child? Your inner child is an intangible aspect of you. Basically, your mini version, your childhood version, who still resides within you. And this aspect of you has been suppressed or ignored for years, because it's only now that you're becoming aware of it, now only that you want to know more about it or want to heal it. So imagine being suppressed and ignored for years and years and years, and then finally someone looks at you. And then, more than that, this inner child is also wounded. It's also hurt. And why is that so? Because we all have come from times where collectively the parenting style, the parenting ways, the parenting in itself has been unhealthy, and not really conscious or aligned, simply because the generation before us has not done that work of healing their own inner child. So knowingly, unknowingly, they too have been projecting their own wounded inner child on us. And the pattern has been continuing even before that, and before that, and before that. And it would keep on continuing unless someone like you stands up and decides to shift the narrative, to shift the story. So I'm so glad to see you here. I'm so glad to be the one, the one who decides to break the pattern, the one who decides to break the chain, that these wounds, these projections will not move forward. Talking about projections, let's talk about how do we really project this inner child wounds on the outside. Because see, this inner child has been inside you. You've not had a relationship with him or her. You've blocked them. It's suppressed, it's trapped, it's ignored, and it's hurt, and it's wounded. So just imagine that energy. Just even talking about it, I feel so much of pressure. I feel so much of anger. I feel so much of this entrapment feeling. And naturally that manifests outside. As within, so without, right? So whatever these feelings this inner child has been feeling on the inside, you have been manifesting those exact same experiences on the outside. This is why most of our relationships in this time and this age are toxic, are unhealthy, are complicated. This is why most of the things that we are chasing and running after, no matter how much we get it, we still feel not satisfied. We feel it's still not enough. This is why we're following repeated self-sabotaging behaviors of seeking approval, seeking validation. So these are all symptoms, and not just symptoms, but I would say results of consequences of an inner child who has not been looked after, healed, or addressed, or accepted. So basically, I would say we all have a wounded inner child. If you are on this planet at this time and age, you do have a really wounded inner child. And the way it's harming you is so subtle that we will never even get to kind of like take note of it until we start noticing the relationship that this wounded inner child starts having with the outside world. So some of the ways in which you might be noticing this inner child is displaying its anger and frustration, which actually stems just from their primary caretakers, right? It's so it's just natural to have that. Sometimes the expectations were not met, sometimes they felt emotionally ignored, sometimes they felt their parents were emotionally unavailable. And that is again not to blame somebody, but simply because someone can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. And this is why I think most of us will only be acquainted with this when we have a certain amount of consciousness and awareness and ability to see our caretakers, our primary caretakers. It could be our parents, our guardians, our relatives, whoever were present in our childhood days, with a sense of compassion. So how our inner child really goes on to display this inner frustration and anger is by that anger and frustration on the outside. So you might be noticing that you're irritated with your parents, maybe without any reason. You're irritated and projecting all that anger on the outside things and situations. You're perhaps seeking a credential or an approval from your boss, or maybe from your partner, or from your relationships, your friendships, or your clients. It could literally be anyone or anything, but how it translates is that you are basically projecting all the wounds that you've experienced as a child, or that you felt throughout these years, that you've been shaming and suppressing all that part of you, being reflected on the outside. So it could be also anxiety, because you might feel like your inner child does not feel safe. So they're in a constant rush to get more safety from the outside. You might feel not free because your inner child does not feel free. This is why if somebody decides to go on and follow their purpose and passion, after a while this work will crop up in their life, as it has for me as well. Because if you want to go and follow your purpose and your passion, it asks you to be free. It asks you to embody all of you. And if you haven't embodied this inner child version of you, this inner child which is inside you, then obviously you're again projecting those wounds on the outside, and you're not able to live from this place of freedom, or create or share from this place of confidence or embodiment, because you yourself, that aspect which is within you, a part of you, is still not integrated. And every time you want to express something, every time you want to create something freely, every time you want to get emotional and vulnerable in your connections, your inner child needs will come in between. They will stop you. They will really stand in your way and say, don't get too close, it's not safe to trust people, it's not safe to do this, you can't create, you cannot play. Again, if you are chasing work, and you do not feel safe enough to slow down, to play, to relax, then also that's a reflection of your inner child who is wounded, who does not feel safe enough to play, because perhaps in the childhood they were asked to study and not play enough, when they felt like they're not good enough if they play. or their worth is decided by how much they work or study in that time, or how much they score. So these are some of the ways in which all our wounded aspects of our inner child reflects on the outside, and which is why inner child healing is a big piece in manifestation process as well. This is why thinking positive is not enough, because every time you want to manifest something which is not something that you've experienced yet, your initial needs will come up, right? And that's an opportunity I want you to take to do this work instead of feeling victimized, instead of feeling like something is wrong with you, or feeling like you have a bad luck or you have a bad history. Because guess what, we all have some of the other shadow aspects of ourselves, sometimes in a childhood, sometimes in a past life, sometimes in an ancestral line, and all of that. So you are not alone, you're not the only one. Take this as an opportunity whenever you're manifesting something and your inner child's needs to come up, which is why it's so vital and so important to do this work, to do the inner child healing, so that you integrate that aspect of you, and instead of using the wounds of your inner child, you allow your inner child to use their creativity, to use their freedom, to use their playfulness, joy in everything that you do, be it your relationships, or your career, or your money, or how you connect to other people, or how you do things which make you happy. Like right now, I'm making this video. So once you start doing this work, you will start seeing difference in your beingness on the outside, as well as in everything that you want to or you have been manifesting on the outside. Like when you are in that energy of an embodied inner child, where you've embodied, accepted, integrated your inner child completely and fully, unapologetically, without any shame, that energy is really powerful. It's really magnetic, and it will draw in things with much more ease and joy and flow. If you're interested to start your inner child healing journey, then enroll at the course. The link is down below. However, if you are a member of DLL membership program, then you get to avail this course for absolutely free. I am wishing you so much of love, happiness, and healing in your journey. Take care, and I'll see you next week.